friends. Welcome to Sky House Herbs podcast. I'm Ashley Elenbaas, a clinical herbalist, and in this space, I share my knowledge and experience with plant medicine to help you on your own journey of healing and transformation. Join me in exploring the ancient wisdom of plant spirit medicine and how it can be used to heal the body, mind, and spirit. We'll talk to experts in the field and share stories from people who've been transformed by powerful plant allies. New episodes are released each Monday, so please subscribe. And now, let's explore this mystical world of plant medicine together. Hey everyone, welcome in. Today I'm bringing you into my kitchen, my apothecary kitchen, to show you what I do when I am overwhelmed with too many half-done herbal projects, because this happens, happens actually a lot, where before you know it, you've got like 50 tinctures that need to be pressed, oils that need to be strained, bottles that need to be labeled, on and on and on. So I'm going to bring you into my kitchen with me because I'm having one of those weeks where I feel like I need to deep clean, right? Have you ever had those where you just look around and you're like, nope, we're done. Like we have to make a change. So I'm looking at my apothecary. I was looking at it today and I was like, yeah, it's time. It's time to press. So I'm excited to share with you how to press oils, how to press tinctures. You'll see that this is not a smooth process. There's bloops and things I forget and spills, and it's life, right? This is life. And the effort we make to clean up our lives and to tidy up our spaces always feels better in the end, even if through the process it can get a little bit messy. So join me in the kitchen. Let me know what you think. Subscribe to my channel if you are interested, and let's go in the kitchen. Hey everyone, welcome in. Welcome to my mess. It has been a busy summer and we are now moving into autumn. And I have all of these medicines I've made that are not completed. And I don't know if this ever happens to you where you get really into something and you start a bunch of projects and then they kind of sit there and you're like, I need to complete them. And I think completion is such an important part of life, because if we don't finish things and tidy up loose ends, they weigh on us, and they actually create not only physical clutter if you're an herbalist, but they create mental clutter, and that will stop us from feeling our best. And I think honestly, in subtle ways, we leak, like our energy leaks out. It doesn't have a really firm container when we've got all of these threads that are not finished, right? You know what I mean? Okay, so what we're going to do today is I'm going to press some herbal oils and some herbal tinctures and talk about the processes of what you do to complete a task and to complete your medicine making. Okay, so let's dive in. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I always like to say this because it's really important. The more people that subscribe to my channel, watch my work, well, it helps me spread my work of teaching people about herbs. So thank you for subscribing, for liking this video, for sharing it. If you know someone who also might benefit from hearing about tying up and tidying up loose ends. Step number one, we have to kind of get our supplies in order. Now, it's, like obviously in a perfect world, we would have all of our, we would have maybe like a checklist that we would sit down and pull out all of our things. You know what? I used to do that before I had kids. And now my brain works differently. And I'm like, oh, good, I've got 15 minutes. Let's just see what I can get done. So one thing that I would suggest is, rather than just doing one thing at a time, like try to create little batch finishing projects. So for example, today I want to batch finish pressing my oils, and I want to batch finish pressing these tinctures. My hope is that in kind of lumping these tasks together, then I'll get a lot more done at once. Now, what about cleanup? That's another batch process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on number one. I'm going to get this finished. Then my second project of the day, maybe after I feed the kids lunch and get out for a walk, is going to be to go to the kitchen and wash all of these bottles. Okay. What do I have here? I've got a few different herbal infused oils. This is an herb infused oil that I made over the summer. And it contains a bunch of herbs, but you know what? I didn't label this bottle. So thankfully, I wrote it down in my notes because I taught a class on it. So I do know what's in here. Because the problem is if you don't label your herbs, they just look like brown stuff floating in liquid. So I have another jar I'm going to transfer it into, and this is really cool. So this is herbs infused in sunflower oil. These are all really good herbs for skincare. So what I'm going to do is once I put it in this jar and it's strained, I'm going to give these away for Christmas presents. So if you're a family or friends, you're likely going to get some of this oil that I'm pressing today as a holiday gift. And if you're thinking about the holidays, you can watch any of my medicine making videos because there's tons of easy things you can make to give as gifts over the holiday season. So what I'm going to do to strain my herbal oil is I've got my Pyrex strainer, and then I have a cheesecloth mesh bag. Now this is actually a nut milk squeezing or pressing bag, and you can buy them on Amazon. I think this might be like a gallon sized, but make sure you check the the dimensions because sometimes they're really, really big. Or in the case of this one, well, actually, this isn't my small one. I've got some small ones and big ones. I'm actually going to go and grab a larger Pyrex. So watch me go all the way over. To this Pyrex. This is a larger, this is 4 cups. This is only 2 cups. And this is going to be a lot easier. I only have to do a single pour for this. So I'm taking my muslin cloth bag, I'm placing it inside, wrapping it around. And this is simple. It can get a little messy, but we'll see how we go. And I might have to do a few different strains, which is totally fine. I don't mind that at all. So I'm going to gather up the ends, lift it up, and I'm just going to wait a minute before I apply any pressure. I'm just going to let gravity pull the oil. You can already see that I did, some of it dripped over the end because it touched. And that's, I mean, this is a messy process. It's not meant to be, it's supposed to be messy, and messy can be a little fun. So we're just going to embrace it and let it spill, let it make a little bit of a mess. So what I'm doing is I'm just squeezing a little bit on the bag here. And now my beautiful golden oil that's infused with burdock root, marshmallow root, chamomile flowers, calendula flowers, blue vervain, a little bit of rue for protection. And that's kind of more like energetic protection. That's all in here. So now I'm going to take this and just set it on top of my lid here. Now my hand is super oily and I can just rub that into my hands. It's kind of nice. And then I'm going to pour this into my clean half-gallon mason jar. So now I've got a finished product, but I do have more. There's more oil to press. So I'm going to do a second pour of my oils. Oh, it's so pretty. And I want to get all this herb because I really want to squeeze it. Now you will always lose some herbs in this process or some oil in this process, okay? So if you if you are like trying to be exact, right? And like, let's just say you want to have 12 bottles and each bottle is 4 ounces. And so you measure it out, right to the exact amount. And then you measure out your oil and you're like, okay, well, this should fill every bottle perfectly. Well, it won't because your herbs are going to absorb some of that oil and not give it back to you, no matter how much you squeeze and press. So you always want to, have a few extra ounces. I mean, it kind of depends on how much herb you have, but I would always use more oil than you think, because when your yield will always be smaller because you'll have some oil loss. Now I'm going to use 2 hands, squeeze. Another trick here to getting the most out is to spinning it, and then that helps me get a little bit more of a squeeze, and it helps push the product or the herbs down. There we go. And you have to use your Hulk hands here. So sound effects help. Facial effects help. Oh, so You can have a little fun with this. All right, there we go. One more Hulk squeeze. All right. Place that there. Pour my oil in. Now I really won't know what's in here. So I definitely have to label. Absolutely critical at this point to label what this is before I forget. Now, I have to run over and wash my hands. So I'll be right back. And always good to have some cloths that you don't really care too much about in the apothecary or in your kitchen space, because, you know, they're going to get wet, they're going to get dirty, they're going to get oil on them and things like that. All right, so now I've got my labels, all-purpose labels, nothing fancy. This is not my finished final product. This is just going to stay in here until I make my fancy labels for the holidays. So I'm just going to write herb-infused oil. And I'm going to write what's in it. And so I remember I've got burdock, marshmallow, calendula from the garden. That was a really nice harvest this year. Calendula, chamomile, blue vervain, and rue. All right. So I wanted this because I wanted it to be a blend of like anti-spasmodic herbs and then also deeply skin nourishing, skin healing herbs. And so we've got like anti-inflammatory in the chamomile, and marshmallow and burdock are really moistening for the skin. And then we have the blue vervain, which is, this has herbs on it. I do not want to contaminate my freshly strained oil. So I'm just going to wipe this out like so. And then I mentioned the rue is really more of a talisman herb. It's from my grandmother's garden, and in Italy or Sicily, where she's from, rue is believed to protect against the evil eye, which is like jealousy, basically. So protect people from looking at you with contempt or jealousy. And I think that's a good thing, because I do think that people send energy through their eyes, and so do you. So be careful of what when you're looking at someone. If you catch yourself looking at them with like disgust, disdain, like things that are not kind, just you can be like, oh, let me blink my eyes and change my tune. All right, so this one's finished. Boop. And I think it looks beautiful, and I can't wait to put it into pretty bottles with nice little labels and a little bow on the top. So that makes me feel so good that this oil is finished. I do have a second oil that I'm going to do off camera, because I have to, basically what I have to do now is take this pressed oil, put it into my compost, flip this bag inside out, give it a rinse with a little bit of soapy water, and then let it dry. And I have to do that before I can do my next batch, because I can't have any water touch the oil or it will spoil. So the oil is now done, because I want to go over to tinctures. So let's press our tincture. I've got this 2 ounce, and I've got another bag. This is a dry bag. Now, tinctures are herbs that are infused in alcohol and water, are usually a blend of the two. I've got a bunch of different ones. Let me just tell you what I've made so far this year. So this is Monarda fistulosa. This is freshly dried. So I dried it, but then before it was completely dry, I put it in tequila. So this is a weight to volume 1:8. So 1 part plant, 8 parts tequila. So it's a little bit of a weaker, not really weaker, but just a little more diluted. This is fresh herb 1:2. So I have 1 part alcohol, 1 part herb, 2 part alcohol. This is absolutely fresh herb in tequila from the garden. This one I gathered out in Buffalo, Minnesota by my aunt's cabin. This one is Monarda fistulosa, 1 to 2 in tequila. This is also the fresh herb. So I just did that in 2 different jars. Now this one is dried blue vervain. So this is not Monarda, this is blue vervain from Buffalo out of my aunt's lake cabin. And this is a 1 to 10 fresh herb in brandy. So I've got 3 different ones here that we're gonna work on. Since they're all Monarda fistulosa, I feel okay pressing them in the same, using the same jar. And I have to have a clean jar because I got to put it into something. And then what I will be doing is then I will be transferring them into small dropper bottles so that I can keep them in my apothecary. And that way, if I want to dose them for myself or dose them for my children, or blend them for a client, I'll have them in an easier jar to pour from, because this is an easy jar to store, but not to pour. That rhymed. That's kind of fun. All right. So this one, let's see, I've got 2 of these are my fresh Monarda fistulosa in a 1 to 2 tequila. But actually, you know what I'm going to do? This one is from, I'm going to strain them separately. So I'm going to grab 2 separate bottles. This is why, like, when you're doing things on the fly, you don't always know what you're going to do. All right, I got these pretty blue bottles. I'm going to use these. Why not? All right, so let's start with this one. We're going to do Monarda fistulosa. And I wrote on it, it's the aerial parts. This is from my garden. And I'm just going to get all the herbs out. I mean, honestly, guys, this is probably such an easy part. It's just tedious and takes a lot of time, and it's messy. It's like the messy part where there's a lot of cleanup. So a lot of people, including myself, I'll just let the jars sit like in my cupboard. And I'm like, oh yeah, like this one I made July 18th. So really I could have pressed it August 18th, and today is October 18th. So I'm a few months late, but it doesn't matter. You can, it does make for stronger medicine if it steeps longer. But at some point it's extracted everything it can. So it doesn't actually, if you set it for a year versus 6 months, it's really probably not going to be that different of a medicine. Now I'm going to twist it so I can get that final last drops out, really give it some good pressure. See, ooh, look at all that. That's good. Yeah, all right. So now what I'm going to do is I've got about 4 ounces, and guess what? This is a 4-ounce bottle. I love that. That makes me so happy. So this, I'm just going to fill up. Ooh, it's going right up to the top. Perfect. Oh my gosh. That is so satisfying. All right, now I need a lid, and I need to write a label for it, because I have to basically transfer everything from this label onto that bottle so that I know exactly what the medicine is that I made. I'm okay. Oh boy. All right, so this is kind of an interesting conundrum, is it looks like I don't have lids that are gonna fit this bottle. This is when I get frustrated. This is when I have to like talk to myself and say, okay, Ashley, we're gonna get creative here. So what am I gonna do? I know I've got lids. I'm gonna stop this video. I'm gonna I'm going to problem solve and then I'll be right back. All right, problem solved. I had in the back room, I had to dig through some boxes, but I found my 120 milliliter cap. So phew, that's good news. And I will put my cap on. That one fits. And now I will write my label because heaven knows there's a lot of bottles floating around that could be, it could just be anything. And I don't want this beautiful medicine that I worked so hard making just getting lost in the shuffle. So I'm going to just copy what I have written on the jar from the when it was steeping. So I'm going to write Monarda fistulosa. And I'm going to write what it's in. Actually, let me write the parts first. So I'm going to say it is fresh herb and flowers, 1 to 2. So 1 part herbs, 2 parts tequila. And I'm going to write here tequila. I'm going to write where it's from. It's from the Sky House Garden. That's here. And I'm going to write the date that it was harvested. So 7/18/24. I could write today's date, like the date that I pressed it. But I want to know, I actually am more interested in like when I actually made the medicine, like when it went into the solution. So there we go. So now I've got 1 bottle of Monarda. And the nice thing is I can actually reuse this because I'm just doing more Monarda. So I'm going to open this up. I'm going to take they call it the mark. That's like the used plant material. So again, this is going to get composted and I am going to put it back in the jar that it came from. So then that will go out to the compost. Now we'll go to the next one. This one is fresh Monarda from, I love my handwriting here, Minnetonka. Oh yeah, this is one that I harvested up the road. So this is, you know, wild crafted versus grown. So like sometimes I find, and I guess, well, maybe what we'll do afterwards is we can sample and I can do another video and I can show you what what these different herbs taste like what is the difference between a wild harvested Monarda versus one grown in the garden. And often in my experience, the ones that are grown in the wild or harvested from the wild are a little bit stronger because they have more adverse conditions that they have to, you know, put up with. And so it can be, you know, often the medicine is a little stronger. Now I can already tell that this is so such fluffy material. I'm probably not going to get a full 4 ounces. So let me squeeze it. We'll start to see. But it's so fluffy. It's so light. But here we go. I'm starting to get some. Oh, it smells so good. So strong. All right. And if you are like, you know, if you find that your tinctures that you're making are not perfectly clear, that's normal. A lot of times, especially, you know, if you're using, if you're doing roots, especially, it will often get cloudy because of some of those polysaccharides, but other herbs, they just are, they just, you know, the mark or the final product will be a little bit cloudy. So you can see here, there's a, you know, it's a little bit cloudy and that's just, I could probably maybe strain it through an even finer cloth if I wanted to. But honestly, for me, I like having some of the plant material in my tinctures. It's like, makes it more of a full medicine. All right, so this one is not going to be a full 4 ounces. This is maybe like 3 ounces, so that's okay. So we have a little bit of less final product. Now, the way that I'm showing you is really like, this is like folk method. This is like you're making it for friends and family. If you were trying to make products to like sell on the marketplace, I'm working right now on getting a GMP kitchen, which is like a very long process where your kitchen has to have very certain specific elements to make it compliant with FDA standards. This is not compliant, y'all. This is this is like folk home use, making it on my table. And so this is how you can do it. But if you want to get into like making your own shop, don't do it this way. You'll get in, you could get in trouble. But this is how like my grandma, this is how our ancestors, this is how folk herbalists, they just sit around a table and they talk and they make their medicines, they make their labels, put it in jars. The nice thing is that when you're making tinctures, it's an alcohol, and alcohol is antiseptic, antibacterial, antifungal. So are the properties in this particular herb. So it's not like you're going to contaminate it just with your hands. But, obviously, if you're going to be packaging, selling it, you're going to want to make sure everything has been sterilized, and there's a whole protocol for how to do that, which we didn't do because I'm not doing that right now. Okay, so now we've got this. Aha. Okay, so now we've got our second batch. Where did I put this jar? Let's see. Oh, I put it here. Okay. So this one is Monarda fistulosa. And I have fresh herb and flowers. I have a 1-to-2 ratio in tequila, which tastes so good, guys. And I know I've spoken about this before, but tequila with like your really aromatic plants tastes really good. And this one is from Minnetonka Fields. And I know where that is, and that's all that matters. And then this one was made on 7/22/24. Let's put the lid on so I don't accidentally clumsily knock it over. Apply my label. Voila! Okay, I am so happy because now I have 3 less jars that are sitting on the counter telling me you haven't finished something. So what I'm going to do now is I'm not going to bore you with doing the rest of these because it's the same process. So I'm going to continue this process again and again and again until I get through all of the jars. Then I'm going to move all of the jars into the sink. I'm going to wipe down my surface so that this place looks clean and finished. Then my next step after lunch is I'm going to go wash all the jars and bottles and then clean that. And I'm going to tell you, just like this, this isn't, nothing new. When you complete something, when something is finished, it feels so good. And now whenever I need my Monarda fistulosa tincture, it's complete, it's done. I can grab it right from my medicine cabinet and use it for my kids, use it for myself. Monarda is an excellent herb for congestion in the lungs. It's a gentle nervine relaxant, really good to use if you have like a cough or a cold, very antibacterial, antiseptic. So I can just grab my Monarda tincture anytime I need it. I can start focusing now on making my beautiful labels for my holiday gift giving. And I don't have to look at these jars and think about when am I going to get that done. So that's done. I hope this was not completely boring. If it was, oh well, you just got to hang out and watch an herbalist do boring things for half an hour. But hopefully this was at least a little bit interesting, maybe motivates you to get into your herb cabinet or look at some of the things that you have halfway finished and to complete them and to give yourself a little pat on the back and say you did it, and then tidy that up and know that now you've got more free space and energy to put into new projects. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Let me know what you think and what are some of the herbs that you enjoy pressing? What is your favorite part of the herbal medicine making process? All right. Thanks everyone. Take care.